some kids obviously are getting extremely stressed, like myself, to a point where they're thinking, what's the point?
We have a whole generation of students who don't want to do anything unless they're being assessed on it.
We just learn how to prepare for the exams, and like our whole mind is focused on that.
The purpose of education has to be about helping young people to become career and life ready. Young people who can go into society and be positive contributors, both socially and economically.
In essence, it's the beginning of a national conversation in England about assessment, qualifications and the curriculum.
There's not an awful lot you can do as a teacher actually to make exam practice exciting and fun. It's relentless, it's repetitive, it's not exciting.
Some people do better with just coursework, some people do better with exams, but when everything is just an exam basis, there is people set out to fail.
So that forgotten third is incredibly important. I mean, firstly, those students have their confidence shattered.
For them, it's a barrier they're never going to get past. They've been told when they were 11 that they're not going to get the results that they want. And by the time you get to year 9 or 10, it takes an incredibly stubborn kid, of which some exist, to say, no, you're wrong, I can still do this, but there's not many of them.
They have different talents. They have a different and important contribution to make to society.
My cousin, through lockdown, he had his GCSEs then, so he didn't get them, and because they went off postcode and he has a North East postcode, he was predicted to pass everything in like 7s and 8s, and he only passed maths with a 5, everything else he got a 3 in.
I feel that we're going back to the old-fashioned times where you were constantly based on class, where you're lower class, upper class, middle class.
Oh, it's completely just based on
class. Like, yeah.
It's in the interests of all of us that all of our young people have a sense of progression and can see the roles that they can play and the ways in which they can contribute individually and collectively to the kind of society of which we would all like to be part.
It's not about what you write, it's about what's on that mark scheme. No one thinks exactly the same as another person. And in real life, in the workplace, you don't want everyone thinking the exact same. You need a lot of different minds, thinking about different things to overcome problems.
Employers, they report that when young people come to work with them to begin with, they actually have to unpick a lot of what they described as the damage done by the qualification system. A system that has encouraged young people to conform, to rote learn, to be unwilling to take risks. The phrase used by employers was, they're looking for people who have a growth mindset. Because in business and industry, things do go wrong. And they need young people who, rather than retreat into themselves when things become difficult, they need people who are resilient, who can cope with failure, and who can turn ideas round.
What we end up with is schools which become exam factories.
All the value becomes limited to that moment, that exam, and that grade that you get at the end. But there's no value in teamwork, and there's no value in independence, and there's no value in creativity, and there's no value in enjoying what you're doing. And if you don't get that grade at the end, then where's the value been in education?
Education is the most exciting job in the world because it's about the creation of the next generation. Fundamentally, the Independent Assessment Commission has to bring the joy back into education.